Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call to order the April 5th, 2021 meeting of the Charleston County Board of Zoning and Appeals, also known as the BZA. Ms. Working, can you please go over the virtual meeting protocol?
Yes. Staff will control the slides displayed throughout the meeting. Applicants and members of the public must be sworn in before speaking for the first time. They should state their full name and current address for the record. Only attendees who have registered to speak before the deadline, which was noon today, may speak during the meeting. Applicants and/or their representative for the public hearing cases are registered to speak. Video and microphone have been disabled for all attendees. Attendees will only be given the capability to speak when they are called on by the BZA secretary or chair. If you submitted a request to speak on a case before the deadline, staff will call your name when it is your turn to speak and will enable your microphone. Your microphone will be disabled after you are done speaking, and chat has been disabled for everyone. Board members who need to recuse themselves will not participate in discussion or deliberation and will not vote. And this meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. Ms. Working, can you please call the roll of the BZA members and introduce and swear in the Charleston County staff member?
Yes, sir. Okay. BZA members, when I call your name, please say here or present. Mr. Ray?
Present.
Mr. Boykin?
Present.
Mr. Freeman? Did you guys see him on earlier?
Yeah, he's still, Mr. Freeman, unmute yourself.
Oh, there he is. Okay, I see him, so I'll mark him present. Mr. Marchant?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Nelson?
Here.
And Miss Switzer Smalls will be here. She is coming from out of town. She was driving, so she should be on about 5:20, 5:30. Mr. Woodall?
Here.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 6. So we have a quorum to start the meeting. Miss Allison and Mr. Williams are absent today. So the Charleston County Zoning and Planning staff present for this meeting are Sally Brooks, Joshua Downey, Savannah Murray, Jennifer Stiles, and I am Jenny Working, the secretary for the BZA. At this time, I'm going to swear in the staff that will present testimony or evidence. Staff, please raise your right hand. I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Because tonight is a public fact-finding meeting, we are in compliance with the Freedom of Act and the South Carolina Code 6-26-70. 15 days prior to the hearing, an announcement was printed in the Post and Courier. A sign was posted on or near the designated property, and a notice was mailed to the applicant or the applicant's representative, to the property owners within 300 feet of the property, and to the parties of interest. Persons and organizations and news media that have requested declaration of our meeting have also been notified. Board members, the meeting notes for March 1st, 2021 public hearing were mailed to you. Are there any changes? If not, may I have a motion to approve and a second?
So moved. Second.
All right, I got a motion to approve by Mr. Woodall. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
And a second by Mr. Nelson. Any discussion? Ms. Working, could you call the roll for the vote, please?
Okay, try that again. Mr. Ray?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Marchant?
Aye.
Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
And Mr. Woodall?
Aye.
All right, unanimous.
It's unanimous as it passed. Thank you. Outcomes ruling from this and any BZA meeting are available to the public for review and inspection during normal business hours at the Charleston County Planning and Zoning Department. Next slide, please. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial body that has final decision-making authority. Appeals for the zoning-related administrative decisions. The BZA has authorization to hear and to decide appeals only on zoning-related matters where it is alleged that there is an error in the order, requirement, decision, or determination made by the administrative official in the administration or the enforcement of a zoning-related regulation. A 2/3 vote of the quorum present is required to overturn the decision by the planning director in an appeal. A special exception. A special exception is issued by the BZA authorizing a particular use in a specified location within a zoning district. Upon demonstrating that use complies with all the conditions and the standards specified by the zoning and land regulations, request meets all 6 of the ZELDAR. The BZA must find that the special exception request must meet all 6 of the approval criteria in the ordinance in order to grant the special exception. A simple majority is required to grant a special exception. A variance. A variance is a relaxation of the BZA and the regulations of the ordinance, where such an action will not be contrary to the public interest and where to the conditions particular to the property and the results of the actions or situations of the applicant. A literal enforcement of the code would result in an unnecessary, undue hardship, and such a variance is consistent with section 6-29-800 of Code of Laws of South Carolina, Title 6, Chapter 29. The BZA must find that the variance request meets all 7, that's 7, of the approval criteria of the ordinance in order to grant the variance. A 2/3 vote of the quorum present is required to grant the variance. Next slide, please. Our purpose tonight is for the interest party to be heard in order to assist the board in gathering evidence pertinent to each case. If a member of the BZA feels a need for further information to clarify a case, the board has the authority to subpoena witnesses. It must be understood that the rules of your neighborhood or subdivision are binding and that we can take no action to negate their jurisdiction over your property. In addition to your testimony, our board has been presented written information submitted by staff, by the applicant or the applicant's agent for each case. This information is now considered evidence and is entered into the permanent record of the body. It is assumed that it is complete, true, and accurate. In addition, we have been presented data assembled by staff for the purpose of clarifying the location of the applicants and the application effect on surrounding property. Our board is empowered to approve with conditions, or deny a special acceptance or a variance request. We are also authorized to defer a case should there be a need for additional information. The BZA's final decision will be mailed within 10 days after the public hearing. It will be mailed, certified mail to the applicant, and U.S. mail to the neighbors and the community of interest. If an application request is approved, the applicant should contact the Charleston County Zoning and Planning Department staff to discuss the next step in the process. Variances and special exceptions are granted this evening are valid for 12 months after the meeting. And a 1-year extension may be granted only if the commencement of work is diligently pursued. However, if an applicant request is disapproved, and if the applicant wishes to appeal the decision by the board concerning the case, an appeal must be addressed in circuit court. South Carolina Code 6-29-820 states that an appeal must be filed by the applicant within 30 days of the decision of the board that is mailed to them. Failure to file an appeal within the time deprives the court of its jurisdiction over this matter. Because this is a quasi-judicial body, everything said in the meeting must be complete, true, and accurate. All the information provided in the BZA is considered evidence, and the board may certify contempt of court if false statements are made either written or orally. Each person who wishes to address the board will be sworn in by the BZA secretary before providing evidence or their testimony. Next slide, please. I will now call each case by number. Staff will present facts that are pertinent to each case, limited to 5 minutes. I will then call the applicant. The applicant will state his or her name and address for the record before presenting testimony pertinent to the case, also limited to 5 minutes. I will then ask all those speaking either in support or opposition to the case, and then they will follow the same procedure to identify themselves. And they are limited to 2 minutes each. The applicant will then have a chance to reply to any opposition, limited to 2 minutes. And then the BZA will make a motion to close the case to the public. Finally, the BZA will make a motion concerning the application, stating the specific findings of rules and conclusion of law. Tonight, we will hear 7 new cases for the public. Next slide, please. The first case that we have tonight is case BZA-01-21-00455. This will be presented by Mr. Josh Downey. Thank you.
BZA case 0121-00455. Applicant and property owner, Mr. Richard F. Moore II, is requesting a special exception to establish a short-term rental, extended home rental in a single-family R4 residential zoning district at 454 Woodland Shores Drive, TMS number 343-11-00162 on James Island in Charleston County. The 2.9 acre subject property and the properties to the north, south, and west are located in the single-family R4 zoning district, and the properties to the east are in the jurisdiction of the city of Charleston. The property contains a 2,991 square foot home that was with 3 bedrooms that was constructed in 2017 for Charleston County records. Staff did conduct a site visit on March the 12th, 2021. The board may approve with conditions, or deny BZA case 0121-00455 special exception to establish a short-term rental, extended home rental in the single-family R4 zoning district at 454 Woodland Shores Road, TMS number 343-1100-162 on James Island in Charleston County, based on the BZA's fact-finding, unless additional information is deemed necessary to make an informed decision. In the event that the BZA decides to approve the application, the board should consider the following recommendations by staff. Number 1, the zoning permit approval. The applicant, prior to the zoning permit approval, the applicant shall complete the limited site plan review process. The second is you shall comply with all requirements in Article 6.8. The property shall not be used for more than 144 days in aggregate during any calendar year. And the fourth, the property owner shall be responsible for ensuring that the tenants comply with the Charleston County noise ordinance. Site plan. Any questions of staff?
Okay, thank you, sir, so very much. Does anyone have any questions of staff regarding this application? Very good, I see no hands. Ms. Workin, is the applicant available?
Yes, I'm going to get Mr. and or Ms. Moore on. I'm just waiting for them to unmute and start their video. Okay.
Can you see me?
Yes, and you're unmuted, so you're good to go. Please raise your right hand. I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I do.
Thank you. And please state your name and current address for the record.
Richard Moore, 454 Woodland Shores Road, Charleston.
Good afternoon, Mr. Moore. How are you today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for appearing before us today. Please tell this board why we should approve your application, sir.
We currently have a limited home rental at that property. We've had it now for a little over 2 years, I believe. And my stepson was living in the garage apartment over the garage, and he bought his own house on Johns Island last year. So sometime back in the fall, we started the process to request to just upgrade more or less from a limited home rental to an extended home rental, since we now have that unit available, and just wanted to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of the number of the nights we could rent.
Okay, very good. Does any board member have any questions for Mr. Moore? No? Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Moore. I appreciate your testimony today, and hopefully everything will work out favorably for you.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir. Ms. Working, do we have anybody else to speak in favor of this application?
No, we do not have any speakers in favor or in opposition.
Very good. So at this time, I'll ask any board member if they have any other questions of staff for discussion or anything for this application. None? No hands? Very good. Well, at this time, I'll close this case to the public, and therefore ask for a motion to approve or deny this particular case, BZA 01-21-00455.
Yes. Hello?
Mr. Freeman.
Yes. In BZA case, BZA 01-21-00455, it is compatible with existing uses in the vicinity and will not adversely affect the general welfare of or character of the immediate community. And adequate provisions is made and or exists for such items as setbacks, buffering, including fences and other landscaping, to protect adjacent properties from the possible adverse influence of the proposed short-term rental use, such as noise, traffic congestion, trash, parking, and similar factors. And 3, it complies with all applicable rules, regulations, laws, and standards of this ordinances, including but not limited to any use conditions, zoning district standards, and applicable short-term rental site plan review requirements of this ordinance. In addition, to the board, with the board recommendations, prior to zoning permit approval, the applicant shall complete the short-term rental agreement limited site plan review process. Number 2, the use shall comply with all requirements of Article 6.8. Number 3, this property shall not be used as a short-term rental for more than 144 days in aggregate during any calendar year. And number 4, the property owner shall be responsible for ensuring that tenants comply with the Charleston County Noise Ordinance.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Woodall, Chair recognizes your hand. Very good. Any other discussion? All right. Very good. Ms. Working, if you would call the roll for the vote.
Okay. Mr. Ray.
Aye.
Mr. Boykin.
Aye.
Mr. Freeman.
Aye.
Mr. Marchant.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
I don't think Ms. Smalls is on quite yet. Mr. Woodall.
Aye.
Okay, and that's unanimous. Approval with the 4 conditions.
Very good. Mr. Moore, congratulations. Your application has been approved. So within 10 business days, you'll get some information from the staff, letting you know the next steps in the process. Once again, congratulations, sir, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you very, very much.
Good. Board members, the next case that we have is BZA 02-21-00456. And that case will be done by Ms. Working.
All right. The applicant property owner is Donnell Mazik. The property is located at 5141 Moss Hill Road, and that's in the St. Paul's area of Charleston County. The tax map number is 098-0000190, and it's in the Parkers Ferry Community Overlay Commercial Property Zoning District. They're requesting a special exception for the sale of alcoholic beverages on site, beer, wine, and liquor, for a restaurant in the Parkers Ferry Community Overlay Commercial Property Zoning District. And in the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance, Chapter 5 is where you find where it is required to have a special exception to sell beer, wine, and liquor in a restaurant. Next slide. These are the ordinance requirements. Next. And this is the zoning map. So as you can see, everything in brown surrounding the pink commercial property is zoned residential. And this is just showing you the 500-foot radius. We require a larger radius for alcohol sales. Our typical radius is 300 feet. So this is just showing everyone we notified in the 500-foot radius. This is the zoomed in aerial and zoomed out. This is the overlay map, and it's circled the pink towards the legend kind of. Here's a photograph of the building and of their parking lot. They have adequate parking there and adequate buffers and fencing. And there is one surrounding, well, there is one residential pretty close by. You could see that on the slide to the left. And then the other picture is showing the adjacent property on the other side with the pine trees. This is Moss Hill Road, and Benjamin Simmons Road. So part of the property does have some frontage on Benjamin Simmons Road, but their access is off of the other road. Next. As far as the criteria, we believe it may meet 1, 2, and 6, and that we think it meets 3, 4, and 5. We have recommended 3 conditions. The first condition is that the applicant property owner shall meet all requirements of the state of South Carolina for alcoholic beverage sales and provide proof of state approval to the zoning planning staff prior to selling alcohol. Number 2, the days and hours of operation for the restaurant shall not exceed 7 days a week, 11 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock a.m. And 3, the applicant property owner shall comply with all requirements of the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance, ZELDAR, Chapter 6, Use Regulations, Article 6.7, Special Events Use, Section 6.73, Temporary Special Events, and Section 6.75, Outdoor Special Events, including, but not limited to, outdoor special events shall require a temporary special events permit from the planning director. Such permit shall not be issued for periods in excess of 10 consecutive days, and no more than 5 such permits may be issued per calendar year. All music and loud noise that is above 70 dBA shall cease no later than 11 p.m. All outdoor special event activities will be subject to the county's livability and/or noise ordinance, and at no time shall associated special event parking be allowed in a public or private right-of-way or access easement. And again, the property is large enough and has adequate parking, so we don't feel that will be an issue, but wanted to put that condition on in case there is a large event. This is the site plan, and you can see the building and the parking and the buffers and the plat. And do you guys have any questions for me?
I do, Ms. Working, and I probably overlooked it. What's
Okay.
the square footage on the building again?
I might not have said that. I don't know if I put that in my report.
Or maybe the applicant can answer that question.
Yeah, and if not, while they're on, I can look it up because I do have that in the file. I can look that up. I don't think I put it in the reports. So I can look that up while they're speaking.
And I have another question.
Sure.
For the outdoor events, well, it does come up quite often, but have they had problems in the past with outdoor events?
No, they just opened as a restaurant, and they're not selling alcohol at this time until they get all the approvals from the county and the state. But I don't suspect there to be any problems. They are going to be allowed to have any kind of indoor event. We're just, concerned about if with outdoor event being next to residences, the hours and the noise. But as far as I know, there hasn't been a problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a question of staff before we start? Very good. Oh, yes, Mr. Marchant.
Ms. Working, I noticed PDF with some signatures that came out pretty recently. Were those the only opposition correspondence you received, or was there anything else?
No, sir. That's for case number 5 tonight.
I'm sorry.
No,
I apologize.
no problem. So for this case, we have not received any opposition. We don't have any speakers signed up to speak in opposition, but we do have the applicant present, so I can get them on.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. We'll talk about that one later.
And I found the square footage is 3,400 square feet roughly. I overlooked it. Okay. Oh, Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, Jenny, I have a question for you. When looking up information on the site, I saw this was previously in front of the Planning Commission, and I didn't have time to dive into the details. Do you know, it was like 2017, and it sounded like it was petitioning for a bar and grill at that time. Is there something that would have caused it to be approved or not approved at that time, and why is it in front of the BZA now?
Okay, so it's in front of the BZA now just because of what the adjacent uses, the residential. That's why. And the Parker's Ferry overlay was approved very recently. I don't know if Jennifer or Sally can remind me what year that was, but we posted all the signs as a team. So it could be that that's when it was before Planning Commission.
Okay.
It was fairly recent.
But there weren't any issues previously. It just this is because of the overlay and the neighborhood uses.
That's right.
Okay.
Adopted in 2017 and amended in 2020.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All right. Any more questions of staff? Very good. Good questions. Ms. Working, if the applicant is available, let's bring him or her on, please.
All right. Got them on. They just need to unmute and share their video. Mr. Mazik, can you please unmute your microphone? I have them on as a.
Mr. Mazik or Ms. Mazik, could you please unmute your phone or device?
They are Yeah, they're definitely on, so let's just give them a minute to try to unmute, because I see their name and I have them as a panelist. They just might be having some technical issues.
So we got video, we just don't have audio yet.
Okay. He's on. Oh, okay.
Mr. or Mrs. Mazik, we see your room, but we see a finger.
All right, I'll get him on there.
There we go.
Is it Harold? Howard Jackson. Oh, there we
Mr. Mazik, you need to unmute your mic.
Hello?
Yeah, you got it.
You're unmuted.
All right.
I'm muted.
Very good. You got a little feedback back there, but we're gonna work through it, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. This worker is gonna swear you in.
Okay. Mr. Mazik, can you please raise your right hand? I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I know.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Mazik, please state your address for us, please.
5141 Moss Hill, Hollywood, South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Mazik. Please tell this board why we should approve your application, sir.
Well, I want to open a business so the people in the community can have a family reunion, anniversary, and wedding reception. And there also would be jobs for the people in the community.
And we plan on having security.
And I plan on have security so everybody can be safe. And I already got an order for some street light in the parking lot. They just haven't put it up yet. Hello?
Okay.
Yes, sir, we're right here. I'm just giving you all the time you need. You got 4 more minutes. Tell me all. You gotta impress this board, sir.
And I have my contractor here so he can explain anything that I can't explain, I guess, to you.
Yes, he is kind of complied with all the Charleston.
We can only speak with you right this moment, sir. Okay, we can only speak
Excuse
to you
me?
this moment.
Okay.
Okay.
Just tell him that you did all the Charleston County.
I already did all the rules that the Charleston County wanted me to do to the building. Everything should be up to date.
Oh, okay.
For a social event in an existing use.
All right. Hold on, Mr. Mazik. I thank you. Thank you for that testimony. Let me see if any other board member has a question for you, Mr. Mazik, okay?
Okay.
Does any board member have a question of Mr. Mazik? Does any board member have a question of Mr. Mazik? I'll ask you a question or two, Mr. Mazik.
All right.
What kind of outdoor events are you planning on having there at your facility, sir?
1 or 2 outside event out of crabs, or sometimes we have oysters. That's about it.
Very good. All right. Does any other board member have a question? I see Ms. Swetson Smalls came on. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. Does anyone else have a question of the applicant? Well, thank you, Mr. Mazik, for your testimony.
Thank you.
Ms. Working, do we have anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this application?
No, we don't have anyone else to speak in favor or opposition, and I'm just gonna mute him in case you do have a question, but he'll still be on.
Okay. Board members, do we have any questions of staff regarding this particular case?
Go to the next slide. Next couple slides.
All right. Well, at this time, I'll
Keep
close
going.
this case.
Yeah,
Well, at this time, I'll close the case to the public, and I'll ask for a vote to either approve, or a motion, excuse me, to either approve or deny this application. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to
All right.
approve based on case number BZA 02-21-00456. It is consistent with the recommendations contained in the Charleston County Comprehensive Plan and character of the underlying zoning district as indicated in the zoning district description. Criteria number 2 is compatible with existing uses in the vicinity and will not adversely affect the general welfare or character of the immediate community. Criteria number 3, adequate provisions is made for such items as setbacks, buffering, including fences and or landscaping to protect adjacent properties from the possible adverse influence of the proposed use, such as noise, vibration, dust, glare, odor, traffic congestion, and similar factors. Criteria number 4, where applicable will be developed in a way that will preserve and incorporate any important features. Criteria number 5 complies with all applicable rules, regulations, laws, and standards of this ordinance, including but not limited to any use conditions, zoning district standards, or site plan review requirements of the ordinance. And criteria number 6, vehicular traffic and pedestrian movement on adjacent roads shall not be hindered or endangered. Along with the board recommendations, the applicant property owner shall meet all requirements of the state of South Carolina for alcoholic beverage sales and provide proof of state approval of zoning, planning staff prior to selling alcohol. The days and hours of operation for the restaurant shall not exceed 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. The applicant property owner shall comply with all requirements of the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulation Ordinance, CDLR Chapter 6 Use Regulations, Article 6.7 Special Events Use, Section 6.7.3 Temporary Special Events, and Section 6.7.5 Outdoor Special Events, including but not limited to outdoor special events, shall require a temporary special events permit from the planning director, such as permits. Such permits shall not issue for a period in excess of 10 consecutive days, and no more than 5 such permits may be issued per calendar year. All music and loud noise that is above 70 decibels shall cease no later than 11 p.m. All outdoor special event activities will be subject to the county's livable and or noise ordinances. At no times shall associated special events parking be allowed in a public or private right of way or access easement.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Borkham, I saw your hand first. Thank you, sir. Now that we have a motion that has been properly moved in second, any discussion, question? Ms. Working, could you call the roll for the vote?
Yes, Mr. Ray,
Aye.
Mr. Boykin,
Aye.
Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
Mr. Marchant,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
Ms. Switzer Smalls,
Aye.
and Mr. Woodall.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you, board. Congratulations, Mr. Mazik. Your application was approved tonight. Within 10 working days, you'll have some information that will be sent to you from the staff, letting you know the next steps in the process. Once again, sir, congratulations on your application, sir. God bless you. Thank you. Okay. The next case that we have tonight is case BZA-02 2021-00457. And that will be conducted by Mr. Downing.
BZA case 0221-00457. The applicant and property owner, Rodney E. Scott Sr., is requesting a variance to reduce the 5 feet interior side setback by 2 feet 8 inches to 2 feet 4 inches for an existing attached carport at 1834 Meadow Lawn Drive, TMS number 351-1500017 in the St. Andrews area of Charleston County. The subject property and the properties to the south are located in the Doo-Wop-Wapu area overlay single-family R4 zoning district, and the properties to the north and east and west are in the city of Charleston's jurisdiction. The 0.33 acre subject property contains a 1,356 square foot home with 3 bedrooms that were constructed in 1957 for Charleston County records. The property also contains an attached unpermitted carport to the east, on the east side of the home, that is 2 feet 4 inches from the interior side property line. The unpermitted improvement attachment carport and storage building were constructed somewhere between 2001 and 2009, prior to 2020, when the property was deeded to Mr. Rodney E. Scott Sr. In January of 2021, the property owner applied for a zoning permit, zone 0121-09786, to bring the existing structures into compliance that were previously placed without permits. In addition to the variance request, the applicant is requesting a special exception to establish a short-term rental, extended home rental, BZA 021-00458, which is the next case. Staff conducted a site visit on March 12, 2021. In granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it conditions regarding the location characteristics or other features of the property, building, or structures, as the board may consider adverse to establish property value in the surrounding areas. The board may approve with conditions, or deny BZA case 0221-00457 variance to reduce the required 5 feet interior side setback by 2 feet 8 inches to 2 feet 4 inches for an existing carport at 1834 Meadow Lawn Drive, TMS number 351-1500017 in the St. Andrews area, based on the BZA's fact finding, unless additional information is deemed necessary to make an informed decision.
Downey, are you complete? You finished?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Does the board have any questions of staff regarding this application?
Just a quick question. Will this setback impose in any way on the street that's there, or traffic, or any of the neighbors?
It should not affect the street or traffic at all, because it's an interior setback, but it will be to the neighbor, and that is the neighbor to the right of the property.
Does anyone else have a question? Very good. Ms. Working, is the applicant available?
Yes, I see Ms. Scott on here. She is on here 3 times, so hopefully I picked the right one. Good with that.
I'm here.
Hi, Ms. Scott, we're hearing some feedback.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to try to swear her in. Okay, if you can please raise your right hand, I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Thank you. And if you can just state your full name and current address for the record.
Unera Scott, 1403 Amber Lane, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407.
Good afternoon, Ms. Scott. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, and you?
Very good. Ms. Scott, apparently you have more than one device trying to work in this process. Would I be correct?
I have one, but I'm trying to turn it off. I think it's one, but it's not working. Hold on. I'm gonna I only have one now.
All right. Also, Ms. Scott, just for the swearing in purpose, I know we passed that, but can you put a picture up? Can you get your picture up? Your visual picture. We'd like to see who we're talking to.
I guess that's why I kept one of it. I don't know.
Take your time. Okay, Ms. Scott, on the sake of time, we're going to try to move forward, okay? Ms. Scott, are you still there?
I am.
Okay, very good. Please tell this board, there we go, now we see you. All right. So, Ms. Scott, please tell this board why we should approve your application.
When we went to go to initiate a short term, and we found out home was not comply with the carport, so we want to take every measure to bring that carport up to compliance. And we're asking for that variance to be approved for us.
Ms. Scott, excuse me, Mr. Ray? Mr. Ray?
Yes, sir.
A couple of things. One, I can't hear anything that Ms. Scott is saying, so I don't think the recording is picking it up either.
Well, let's start over, Ms. Scott, okay?
Okay.
Now that we got the video, I'm gonna ask Ms. Working to go ahead and swear you back in, and we'll get you to raise your right hand so we can see you, okay?
Okay.
And we're gonna ask that you speak up just a little bit louder so we can hear you.
Okay.
Jenny, you're on mute.
I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do. Thank you.
I do.
All right. And please state your address, Ms. Scott.
1403 Amber Lane, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407.
Ms. Scott, are you running both your telephone and computer? One may be too close to the other? Because we're still getting a double echo with quite a bit of a squeal.
My phone is off. There's nothing on.
Ms. Scott, is your cell phone near your computer?
But I've turned the cell phone off completely. I've turned the cell phone off completely. It's off. The cell phone's off.
We're gonna try to work with it the best way we possibly can. And Mr. Hughes, you just, hopefully it could, I see we got some technical support here in the back. Ms. Savannah. So we're going to move forward again. I'm going to ask that you tell the board why we should approve your application again, and speak up as loud as you possibly can, okay?
Mr. Ray,
Yes, yes, sir.
can you please have Ms. Scott clarify, because she is not the applicant, that she is speaking on behalf of the applicant and she has authority to do so?
Thank you.
And my husband, Rodney Scott, he is probably on the line. He's just driving, and I did get prior permission for proxy for him. And I did apply for the application. I am the applicant on the application as well.
Okay, that's probably why we have the feedback if Mr. Scott is actually on the phone traveling.
Yeah, he's traveling, yes.
And if he's online, that's why we're hearing this feedback probably.
Okay. I can have him, Rodney, hang up. Tell him to hang up.
It's not you that we're trying to get to, we're trying to get to Mr. Scott.
Mr. Scott may not be, he may have the phone on actually, but he may not, he's driving and he may have to get out, and he may be not in the truck at this time. So he may have his phone open, but he's not there.
Okay, you're clear. I can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know what, so maybe he hung up.
Well, I don't know if this is another issue or not, but the name on the application is Mr. Scott. And I know you got husband and wife things. That's why we got Mr. Huge here. Where do we go from here, Mr. Huge?
As long as she certifies that she's speaking on behalf of the applicant. Ms. Scott, it's just that your name is not on the application that we have before us. And so we just need to know that you just need to let the board know that you are speaking on behalf of the applicant.
I am speaking on behalf of Rodney Scott, Sr.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now you may proceed. We can hear you a whole lot better. We're going to work through this. Let's go. Go ahead.
All righty. Okay, the variance, we're asking for a variance, the exception for the variance for the overhang for the setback on the existing carport. It extends past our property line, and we're asking for compliance with that carport.
Are you plan to shorten the cart? You said it extends past your property. What kind of adjustments are you making? Do you plan to shorten it? You redoing it?
No, we won't be able to redo it. We're just asking for that variance exception.
Okay, just for for what's already there, so it can stay. Okay, yes. I got you.
So let me clarify, Ms. Switzer-Smalls.
Okay.
I just want to, Ms. Scott, are you saying that it extends into the variance, but it's still on your property?
It is still on the property, but just requires a setback.
Okay, I think you just said that it's beyond your property line, which is a different issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
One of the questions that I asked early on was, would it impede or impose on the street or the neighbor? And the staff said potentially to the neighbor to the right. I'm assuming they have no concern or issue with how it's currently set up.
No,
have you all spoken with them at all?
I believe my husband had some conversation with her.
Can you tell us the outcome of that conversation, Ms. Scott?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
Okay. All right. Does any other board member have a question of Ms. Scott? Any other board members? Oh, Mr. Nelson, I see your hand there, sir.
Ms. Scott, can you just confirm that this carport has been there for a number of years?
Yes, the carport has been there since 01 to 09. My in-laws, okay. Yeah, they did the carport back when they did some renovation, and it was done by a contractor, and I guess they went beyond, what they should have, and okay. Asking. So we were gifted property.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Borkin.
Mr. Downey? A quick question.
Yes, sir.
So just to clarify, all we're talking about here is an encroachment on the 5-foot side setback, and they need about half of it back
Yes, sir.
to accommodate this carport. And I guess one other point, the neighbor would have been noticed about this variance request because they were within 300 feet of the subject property, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
In addition, the sign is in the yard as well. I think it was in one of the pictures possibly,
Yes, ma'am.
or 2 signs. Yeah.
Okay. Any other board member has a question? Is that a question, Mr. Woodall? No? Okay. Very good. All righty. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Ms. Workin, do we have anyone else to speak in favor or opposition?
No, we do not have anyone else to speak in favor or in opposition for this case.
All right. And board members, do we have any other questions of staff or the applicant? Well, not of the applicant, but the board of the staff, excuse me. Any other questions? Very good. At this time, I'll close this case to the public and ask for a motion to approve or deny application BZA 02-21-00457. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Mr. Marchant, excuse me.
Thank you. In the case of BZA-02-21-00457, item 3.10.6, there are extraordinary and exception conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. Clearly, the applicant inherited the property and the carport was already constructed, and he's asking a variance for something that's already in place. These conditions in 3.10.6, item 2, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. This is true, and it meets this criteria. 3.10.6, item number 3, because of these conditions, the application of this ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Certainly, with this being in place for many years, the carport would have to be demolished if we didn't approve it. Therefore, the request meets this criterion. Under item 3.10.6, number 4, the authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the zoning district will not be harmed by the granting of this variance. Certainly, this is true as the carport has been in place, and there has not been any issues with neighbor or traffic, as has been stated. So it certainly meets this criteria. The Board of Zoning Appeals shall not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land, or to change the zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. The fact that the property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted may not be considered grounds for a variance. Obviously, we're not changing the property, we're leaving it as is. It does not change the value or make it more profitable, and so I think it also meets this criterion. Item 3.10.6, number 6, the need for the variance is not the result of the applicant's own actions. That is apparent in the fact that the carport was in place when the property was deeded, and so it meets this criterion. And number 3.10.6, number 7, granting of the variance does not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan or the purpose of this ordinance. I don't think it does, and so it meets this criterion. So I move that we approve.
Second.
This is just not our night tonight. Apparently, Mr. Ray and Jennifer are frozen. So was that a second for Mr. Woodall?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, and hopefully they can get that figured out. Should I go ahead and call the roll and see if they can get back on? Mr. Hughes, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna need their vote, Jenny.
I have 6 without Mr. Ray.
Okay.
I think they might just have to come back into the meeting if they're frozen. Yeah, she said we're down. Okay. Mr. Boykin,
Aye.
Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
Mr. Marchant,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
Ms. Switzer Smalls,
Aye.
and Mr. Woodall.
Aye.
So that's 6 unanimous. Ms. Scott, can you please stay on for your next case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think we're back on now. We had a little technical difficulty here. And I think it was just us over here. Ms. Working, can you bring me up to speed?
Okay, so I did go, there was no discussion. I did call the roll and we got six votes in favor.
Okay.
Did you have anything you wanted to discuss about that, the variance case?
No, you got it done. Thank you.
Okay. All righty, sorry about that.
No, that's technology for you. So our next case, we still moving forward?
Yes, sir.
All right. So our next case is case BZA-02-21-00458. And that will be done by Mr. Downing.
BZA case 02-21-00458. The applicant and property owner, Rodney E. Scott, is requesting a special exception to establish a short-term rental extended home rental in the Doo-Wop-Wap-Poo Overlay Zoning District, Single-Family R4 Residential Zoning District at 1834 Meadowlawn Drive, TMS number 35115000017 in the St. Andrews area of Charleston County. The subject property and properties to the south are located in the Doo-Wop-Wap-Poo Overlay R4 Single-Family R4 Zoning District. The properties to the north, east, and west are located in the City of Charleston jurisdiction. The 0.33 subject property contains a 1,356 square foot home with 3 bedrooms that was constructed in 1957 per Charleston County records. The property also contains a carport. That was the last case with the carport situation. Staff did conduct a site visit on March 12, 2021. The board may approve with conditions or deny BZA case 02-21-00458. Special exception to establish a short-term rental extended home rental in the Doo-Wop-Wap-Poo Overlay Single-Family R4 Zoning District at 1834 Meadowlawn Drive, TMS number 35115000017 in the St. Andrews area of Charleston County, based on the BZA's fact finding, unless additional information is deemed necessary to make an informed decision. In the event the board decides to approve the application, the board should consider the following conditions recommended by staff. The applicant shall complete the limited site plan review process. The applicant shall comply with all requirements of Article 6.8. The property shall not be used for a short-term rental more than 144 days in aggregate during any calendar year, and the property owner shall be responsible for ensuring that the tenants comply with the Charleston County noise ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Downing. The board have any question of staff at this time? Very good. Ms. Scott, since you've been sworn in, I don't think we need to swear you in again.
I'll go ahead and swear her in just for this
No,
case.
you have
Yeah.
to swear in. It's a different case.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Thank you. I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
Do.
Thank you so much. And just state your full name and address for the record.
Janera Scott, 1403 Amber Lane, Charleston, South Carolina, 29407.
All right, thank you again, Ms. Scott. Please tell this board why we should approve this application for your short-term rental.
So we inherited the property on 1834 Mandathon Drive, and we asked for permission for a permit for the short-term rental. With the growing market and the tourism in Charleston, South Carolina, we wanted to take the opportunity to have this as a short-term rental and to increase the revenue in the Charleston area as well. We have taken careful consideration on the hosting to be a rich and positive experience, and we're definitely committed to be responsible and good neighbors. And we will also ask our neighbors to always keep an open line of communication so that we can have a nice process and not to disturb them in any way. We will also make every effort to check each guest and make sure that they don't have any issues or problems. We want to do our best in making this experience a positive experience and not to have any issues or problems. And we just ask you to carefully consider our opportunity to make this a short-term rental.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Does any board member have a question of Ms. Scott? Does any board member have a question of Ms. Scott? I'll ask a question. Ms. Scott, who's going to manage the property for you?
I will manage the property.
Okay. And I take it that you have a good bit of experience doing this?
I'm willing to do and try anything I can. I do have friends that are already doing some Airbnb. So they're my mentors and just constantly reaching out. So I always can rely on those friends for assistance and guidance.
What does your neighbor to the left or your right have to say about you putting this house in the short-term rental?
The left and right, they probably don't have much to say, but I do know, I think some neighbors probably in the front may have, some concerns. So that's why we want to do our best to, make them at ease during this rental process.
Very good. Does anyone else have a question of the applicant? Very good. At this time, I'll close this case to the public. And board, did you have any questions of staff? Seeing none. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to either approve or deny this case BZA-02-21-00458.
I'll make the motion.
All right, Mr. Woodall.
BZA case 02-21-00458, special exception for short-term rental, is compatible with the existing use in the vicinity and will not have an adverse effect on the general welfare of the other properties as well as the community there. So number one, you're good there. Number two, adequate provisions have been made. There is fencing up, I believe on all sides of the property, and there's adequate parking there. So as for 682C2, you meet the requirement there. Number three, complies with applicable rules, regulations, law, and standards of ordinances. The applicant is currently in, as stated by staff, in short-term STRP, limited site plan review. And therefore, you meet the requirement. I've also attached the 4 conditions as stated by staff. Therefore, that is my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? I see Mr. Nelson's hand for a second. Very good. Now that we have this motion properly moved, do we have any discussion? Ms. Working, can you call the roll for the vote?
Okay. Mr. Ray?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin,
Aye.
Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
Mr. Marchant,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
Ms. Switzer Smalls,
Aye.
and Mr. Woodall.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, all 7 with the 4 conditions.
Ms. Scott, congratulations on having your application approved. We wish you the best of luck. Within 10 days, you'll get information from staff letting you know the next step in the process. Once again, congratulations and good night.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. Our next case will be case BZA-02-21-00459. And will be presented by Ms. Working.
All right. The applicant property owner for this case is Dexter Wilson. The property is located at 1727 Ashley River Road in the St. Andrews area of Charleston County. Tax map number 351-16-00028. The property is in the Ashley River Road corridor overlay light commercial area zoning district. He is requesting a special exception for the sale of alcoholic beverages on site, beer and wine, for a proposed lounge in the Ashley River Road corridor overlay light commercial area zoning district. And this requirement is in Chapter 5 under that overlay. It requires a special exception for bar lounge. These are the ordinance requirements. And this is the zoning map. The property is, again, commercial. The parcels in white are in the city of Charleston. To the left is the Graham AME Church. The R4 properties are in the county. They're colored yellow, and those are all single-family residences. All the other properties along Ashley River Road are commercial. And like the previous case, this is showing you the 500-foot radius and everyone that was notified in that 500 feet. This is a zoomed in aerial property. And the zoomed out aerial, you could see it's near the corner of Wapu and Ashley River, not too far from Sam Rindenburg. And this is the overlay map. This is a picture of the subject property, and this is showing the unit. And this is some more pictures of the subject property. And again, and the parking. This shows the Graham AME Church. And then next on the other side is Icy Place, Mr. Norwal or something. These are photos of surrounding properties on Ashley River Road. All right, and for this case, yes, so for this case, we stated that we think that it may meet 1, 3, and 6. We do not think it meets number 2, and we think it meets 4 and 5. Next slide, please. If you do choose to approve the application, there's 3 conditions we suggest. One is that the applicant shall meet all requirements of the state of South Carolina for alcoholic beverage sales and provide proof of state approval to the zoning planning staff prior to zoning permit approval to establish the proposed business. The days and hours of operation for the lounge shall not exceed Tuesday to Thursday from 5:30 p.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. and Friday to Saturday from 5:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. And number 3, all lounge patrons shall park on the subject property, and that's TMS number 351-16-00028. This is showing you the site plan with the parking spaces and the floor plan. This is the plat. And Can you go to the next slide? I think. Oh, okay. I do have a slide just to let you know, this is the case that we did receive the petitions, but that slide comes after the applicant speaks, so. And we do have 4 people signed up to speak in opposition, but the applicant will go first. Do you all have any questions for me before I get him on?
Mr. Borkin.
Jenny, are there any other bars or nightclubs or venues that would have, you know, outdoor entertainment or live bands or music or alcohol served directly in the vicinity of the AME church that's right next door to this subject property?
Yeah, there is a Mexican restaurant, I think on the corner of Wapu and Ashley River.
Okay.
There's a cafe, but I think they're only open during the day.
But I'm familiar with that restaurant, but it's kind of tucked away on the far end of that commercial property. I mean, down Ashley River a ways, separated by a parking lot and an intersection. But there would be nothing between this particular property and the church next door, would it?
That's correct.
That's all I had. Thanks.
My question, Ms. Working, are they going to have enough adequate parking? It seems like they only have, what, 15, maybe 16 spots?
Yes. So the property has 15 parking spaces, and that does satisfy our zoning ordinance. But whether or not that's adequate, you know, it does meet our requirement. You know, but for bars and restaurants, you know, sometimes it can exceed that. In the report, I do state how the other businesses in the shopping center will not be open at the same time, so that should help some too.
And I noticed also that you have all individuals that come to the lounge, they have to park on the premises. So
yes,
item 3 would kind of go away if there's nobody parked and no one's using the adjacent parking lot. Would I be correct? Can they use that at that time, or?
Oh, no. So my condition number 3 is that they park on the subject property. So if you go to the site plan, Savannah, that they have to park on the subject property if they're going to the lounge. And what I'm saying is, like, you could see there's a groomer in there and Wilson's Exterminating Service. So those businesses should be closed by the time the lounge opens. So the parking spaces should be available. But what that condition number 3 is saying is that they have to park on this property. They can't park on the adjacent properties, whether it's the church or the IC business.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question of staff?
I'll just follow up on your concerns, Mr. Ray, and the West Ashley hardware store is right there, and it's got a very large parking lot. Used to be the West Ashley DMV location and all that over there. I guess my concern is the enforceability of that condition. You know, it's not going to be anybody out there, you know, stopping those folks from parking and walking across the intersection and going over there. And I think it's well intentioned and it's a good condition. I just don't know that the staff are we're going to be able to, you know, enforce the crowds that may gather at a location like that. So that was, again, I'll just reiterate what Mr. Ray
Yeah, and the applicant is also the property owner, so that would be his responsibility. Of course, you know, we're complaint-based, so if we do get complaints that people are parking across the street or on either of the adjacent properties, then we would take care of that.
Mr. Marchant. The chair recognizes you, sir.
Thank you. I guess related to those questions, do we have a sense for the occupant load for this building and use? And the reason I asked, I think there's 16 or 17 parking spaces and we're 1,700 square feet. I can't imagine a business being successful with only 17 people in it. So back to the other questions, there's just some suspicion around occupants and their ability to park and doing the math on business. So just kind of a curiosity about, do you know what the code suggests for amount of occupants in a space like this? perhaps the applicant knows.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, there are 15 spaces, 15 parking spaces. As far as how many people can be in the building, I don't know the answer to that. That is something we can get from building services. And like you said, maybe the applicant would know. Fire code, building code.
Good question, sir. Anyone else? Very good. Ms. Working, is the applicant available, please?
Yes. Okay, so he's also on 3 times, so hopefully I'll pick the right one and try to get this right.
Hello,
All right.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir, we can hear you.
All right.
Your head's a little cut off, but that's okay. Yeah.
Go up with your camera.
There you go. That's a little better. All right.
Can you close your blinds behind you?
Yeah, we can't. There's a lot of light.
Is that better?
A little bit. Oh, there you go. That should be better with the.
This one. All right.
Now we
Okay.
can see you, sir.
All righty. If you can please raise your right hand, I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I do.
Thank you. And state your full name and your current address for the record.
Dexter Wilson, address is 7766 High Maple Circle, North Charleston, South Carolina, 29418.
Good evening, Mr. Wilson. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good, good. Mr. Wilson, please tell this board why we should approve your application, sir.
We currently have one location in North Charleston. We've been open since September of 2018. Honestly, put everything that we had into it, and it ended up being successful, which we're happy about. So we do see need and a void that we could fill in the West Ashley area for this kind of business. So we wanted to try to capitalize on that. Right now, being in North Charleston, we are a little bit further out than most tourists like to come, but the ones that do come in on a regular basis, they do express that they wish that we were closer to the downtown area where, of course, a lot of them stay. And honestly, we're just trying to make a living. So I have the building over there in West Ashley, and the tenant that was in there left about a year ago. So I said, it makes sense to try to put it there.
Very good. Thank you, sir. We're going to ask a couple questions. Mr. Wilson, what was there prior to you occupying this space, sir?
So it was a European Foods grocery store. And they were there at the time that we bought the building some time ago, and they've been there ever since.
So you purchased the building?
Yes. I currently own the exterminating company in the rear of the building, Wilson's Exterminating, as well.
Very good, sir. Mr. Wilson, I know prior to you coming on, some of the board members had a question regarding parking. Mm-hmm. And you having ample parking for your enterprise. Mm-hmm. Can you just expound a little bit on how you will overcome any parking issues that you may have? For right now, we're seeing that you have 15 spots.
Correct. Right now, well, first off, I'd like to say a lot of people, when they hear lounge, they think club. We couldn't be further away from a club. I would honestly compare us more to a restaurant style place. It's, you have a couple booths, a couple tables where people are sitting down, kind of enjoying themselves. So we aren't a place where people are packed up, standing arm to arm around a bar or anything like that. As many seats as we have in there is the amount of people that we allow in the space at any given time. So with the parking, current location is about 1,000 square feet right now. And we generally have no more than 20 to 25 people in there at a time. I know on the floor plan right there, it says the space is 1,700 square feet. We wouldn't be occupying for customer use that whole entire 1,700 square feet. It would be, I think, closer to maybe 1,000, which is around the same size as where we are now. We take pride in being able to keep the crowds down so that we can really give the best experience that we can give. So like I said, we're not a club, and I know a lot of people do think that when they hear lounge, but we're not a bar or outdoor event type place or anything like that. Whoever we could get in there and sit down at that time is who we're serving and allowing to be in there.
Very good. Mr. Wilson, are you going to serve food and have music there, sir?
Yes, sir. So from time to time, we do finger foods, and from time to time we would do some kind of live music. Generally, that is if someone would like to do a private event, such as like our location that we have up here. Just Saturday, my sister had her bridal shower there. If she wanted a live band there or something at that time, then we would have accommodated that for her. But that live music isn't something that we do on a regular basis. We usually play right off of an iPad.
Okay. Thank you for your answers, Mr. Wilson. Does any other board member have a question of the applicant?
Yes.
Mr. Borkin? I'll come back to you, Mr. Freeman. Go ahead, Mr. Borkin.
Good evening, Mr. Wilson. How are you, sir?
Good evening. I'm well.
Well, first, let me say I applaud your entrepreneurship and your business moxie and everything. And I certainly understand your desire to utilize a property you already have in its most productive way in your belief. I've got to tell you, I'm just on its face not a big supporter of your application for several reasons, but one of which is, when you bought that property, you probably recognize that big AME church sitting next to it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And I guess my point is knowing that even though we have an overlay district that allows for this type of use, it doesn't mean it's fitting or proper in every area or portion of that overlay district. And I think that's where I feel we find ourselves tonight, is that you may be able to put it somewhere else, but I just think where you're asking to put it is really putting a lot of pressure on those folks in that church, and they can't pick up and move. And clearly they've expressed a great deal of opposition to your plans, very, genuinely and earnestly. And I think they have, some right to be concerned. I looked at your letter of intent, and, even in that, in your own words, you put that 45% would be tobacco use and 20% alcohol use or sales. I'll change it whichever way you want to word it. But 35% would be restaurant related. To me, that sounds more of a nightclub if you add in the private mixers and or parties and the live music. And I think that intensity, should we say, might not be appropriate right beside that church. And not only is it a church, it's a cemetery sitting right there too. So tell me about how you think this is going to fit or not impact the community with your neighbors there at the church.
Well, funny thing about this situation coming up and being brought to my attention today is where we are currently at, and I'd be happy to provide proof of it at any point. We're in a plaza that has multiple spaces. Our wall, as you walk into our unit, the left wall is shared with the church. So I am very familiar with dealing with churches in the capacity that we're in. And I'm very understanding of their needs and their concerns on anything that we have going on. But like I said, I'm in an area where our literal neighbors that I speak to every day is a church. It's a Hispanic church. They've been there now for about 2.5 years and have a pretty decent sized congregation. Our hours don't overlap with each other. Most churches are closed by 5:30. We're just opening, and usually we don't get many walk-in customers until about 6:30 or 7 after people get off of work. So that's that situation in a whole.
What I would ask, and I don't know this, I'm guessing that the church probably has other activities other than just, Sunday morning gatherings.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They'll certainly have funerals, and they'll probably have prayer services and Bible study and things like that.
Absolutely.
Sometimes those are in the evenings. And again, I'm great. I'm very happy that you've got a good relationship with the other church, but certainly these folks don't share that sentiment because they've, signed a petition and have been very, I guess, out front that this is not something they want. But that's all I have for you. I just wanted to ask you those questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I, Mr. Wilson, I have a question for you. My name is Tanya Smalls. I can understand the concerns from that church. I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that that church has been hit several times on that corner.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Probably part of their concern.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, if you're thinking 25 people, special events and that kind of stuff, I think it's come up before. How do you really control the parking? Who's going to be, do you have special security or a special police officer that's off duty controlling that? They may be concerned about people, even though they're not supposed to park on their property.
Mm-hmm.
On their property.
Mm-hmm. And so, yes, we do work with the current security company up here in North Charleston right now. And they deal with a good portion of any kind of night spots or anything like that around here. Because we are so small, we generally don't require more than two people out there at any given time for that, which one is generally outside patrolling and the other one is on the interior. As far as the parking with the church, I understand that concern, but their parking lot is on the other side, on the Wapu side of the street there, and we're all the way on Ashley River. Me speaking in my personal experience with going to places, I'm not parking all the way around the corner in a parking lot that I can't see my car to walk all the way around to somewhere else. So, and they do have gates up as well. Once again, I am sensitive to their concerns, but I don't see my clientele that we currently have doing that.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have a question of Mr. Wilson?
Yes. My concern was that I think you said you had a place in North Charleston.
Correct.
And I actually thought that you grew and you did quite well. And I guess you did very good service and whatever. So I presume you meet the Charleston County regulation with the 15 parking spaces, but what happens when your business begins to grow? How do you prevent people from not parking in the church or around the corner? Because if it's good and you got good services, I mean, initially it's going to do fine. It would maybe meet the requirements, but after it began to grow, how do you prevent people from parking on the Wapu Road and blocking the church in case they do have any events or whatever? They have evening programs, prayer study, children programs. Now, how do you prevent that from happening when business began to grow later down the road?
Yes, sir. So we do good service, and as I stated, and I'm not sure if that y'all still have a copy of that floor plan, but as I stated before, what we can accommodate in there to be seated at that time is what we serve. So unfortunately, because for our customers, if they don't get there within a timely fashion, or they haven't made a reservation and they're not being there to be served at that time, which in many cases they'll leave and come back, or maybe find somewhere else to go and come back at another time. So generally, we don't have the concern of overpopulating our space or any surrounding areas because of that. And once again, that is because we keep it in a lounge setting as opposed to a bar, nightclub, anything like that. So
I guess my biggest concern is how you prevent a business from growing once it starts growing. How do you prevent that from happening?
well, I can't stop it from growing, but I could definitely control what comes in at that time. And I'm not sure, if anybody is going to necessarily stick around and stay parked somewhere when they can't come in to be served.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I have a question for you. Just the obvious question. Have you seen the public comments?
I just got a chance to look at it today. I think it was sent to me today or Friday, but I didn't realize it until today in my email. So I was able to take a look at that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Here's the $1 million question. Have you had the chance to talk with any of the members of the church? I know right now the AME church is pretty much closed until September.
Mm-hmm.
But have you made some effort to maybe by phone call, email, reach out and talk with your neighbors regarding your business prospects?
So it was brought to my attention today after speaking with the presiding elder over the district, as well as I believe maybe someone who may be speaking tonight, that the only way they were tipped off on this was because a few weeks ago I reached out to them because I wanted to get in contact with the board just to build that relationship. And I never received any call back or anything like that. But I did try to do that at that time. And then today, that's why it was so shocking to me, because today I just all of a sudden see these petitions and complaints for what we're trying to do there. So that, yes, we have tried to reach out. And today I was able to speak with the presiding elder, another
What's the presiding elder's name?
Reverend Goff.
Okay.
And I was able to speak with the pastor as well later on, probably about 30 minutes before the meeting started.
How did that conversation go, sir?
It was a understanding, but I think they were still going to be in opposition to it. I feel at the end of the conversation.
Okay. Thank you for your answer for that. Do we have any other board member that has a question of the applicant? I see no hands. Thank you so very much, Mr. Wilson. Hold tight.
Okay.
And we'll see if we have anyone else to speak in support of your application. Ms. Workey, do we have anyone else to speak in support of this application?
No, we don't have anyone to speak in support, but we do have folks to speak in opposition.
So Mr. Wilson, hold tight, listen carefully. We're going to entertain any person that wants to speak in opposition to your application, okay?
All right.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Workey. Please.
Okay, the first speaker is going to be Diane Hamilton. So just give me a moment to get her on.
I keep forgetting to put my mask back on. Good afternoon, Ms. Hamilton. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Ms. Work is going to ask you to raise your right hand and state your name and address.
Okay.
I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I do.
Okay. And yes, if you can please state your full name and current address for the record, please.
My name is Diane Hamilton. I live at 1219 Forbes Avenue, Charleston, 29407. Mailing address, P.O. Box 31794, Charleston, 29417.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Hamilton, once again.
Good evening.
Please tell us why you're coming before this board tonight.
Okay, it is going to be a little repetitious, but I will proceed. I'm speaking in opposition to the request to permit a lounge selling beer and wine and live entertainment to be open less than 100 feet from a church, adjacent to a residential neighborhood and the traffic situation at the site as well as at the corner. It does not seem reasonable to me that 15 parking spaces is sufficient to support the number of patrons at a lounge. Some of them may try to park in our church yard. Exit, this bothers me, from the site. I use the groomer there on the corner, so I know what it is to get my car in and out when there are only 1 or 2 persons in that parking area. Due to the lack of space for vehicles to maneuver to get back onto Highway 61. In my opinion, the business is not compatible with the character of the immediate community. It will close at 11 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, but Friday and Saturday it will close at 2 a.m., meaning early Sunday mornings. The residential neighborhood would have to endure the noise at night and early morning. There are more details in my letter, and I do applaud Mr. Wilson for his entrepreneurial skills. I just feel that this particular business is not compatible with the location. Thank you.
Okay. Hold tight, Ms. Hamilton. Does any board member have a question for Ms. Hamilton? I have a question for you, Ms. Hamilton. Now, you've been a member of the church for quite some time, I believe, right?
My entire life.
Okay. Well, okay. Other than parking, do you see any conflicts in times where this applicant will be in business and the church will be in session at the same time? Like,
yes, there are activities at the church, and the church also do have parking on the Highway 61 side. We park on both sides of the church, so we do have parking on the Highway 61 side, and there are programs and meetings that occur in the early afternoon at 7 o'clock. Sometimes you have night services, and they may end around 11, but they open at 5:30 in the afternoon. Sometimes there are business meetings that are held in the sanctuary. So there are times when there will be an overlap.
okay. Ms. Hamilton, do you hold any positions there at the church? And if so, what position do you hold?
I am currently just the chair of the scholarship committee and the Scouts Committee and the Floral Guild. I have also served as a trustee on more than one occasion, teacher, secretary. So I've served in many capacities. I'm sort of stepping back now.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Hold tight.
You're welcome.
Does any board member have a question of Ms. Hamilton? Mr. Marchant. Go ahead, sir.
Ms. Hamilton, part of the application talks about use of that building prior to 2013. Do you recall some of the other uses that might have happened before Mr. Wilson acquired the property?
I remember the European food market that he referenced. I saw very little traffic moving in and out of that building. There was no problem with our church. When I look at the other businesses around there, it's where, you know, customers come in, they don't stay for an extended period of time. And I believe that the European market closed at a particular time. So it was not open at the time the church would be having afternoon services or nightly services. So there was no problem there. And I didn't see the traffic getting in and out. Really, I didn't see any traffic there at all, to be honest with you.
Do you remember what was there before the European food store by any chance? I can't remember either. I just didn't know if you
I
could.
know many years ago, like I said, I've been, and I'm over 70, giving away my age. There used to be a drugstore there when I was much smaller. I remember that business. And but the more recent one would be the European market and then the groomers. And I said, I patronized the groomers. I was there about 2 weeks ago. And so, but that short space, which is only about the width of a car, there's just no way to turn or maneuver. That concerns me, considering that we've had so many accidents just maybe about 100 feet or so from that spot at the corner. And those accidents occurred late at night, thank goodness. You know, the church was not occupied, it was late at night and when people ran into that church, and some of them had been under the influence, not to say that Mr. Wilson's patrons will behave in that manner, but we're looking at all of that and it makes us nervous.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question for Ms. Hamilton? Does anyone else have a question for Ms. Hamilton? Ms. Hamilton, thank you so very much for your testimony tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to me and to us. Thank you.
Ms. Workin, who else do we have in opposition?
Okay, I think just for ease, I'll just leave her on mute and go to the next speaker is Reverend Wayne Gregg. Somebody's censoring.
I hope that's nobody calling though.
All right, Mr. Gregg, if you can hear me, can you unmute, please, and start your video? Okay. There he is. We see you. Just unmute real quick.
Reverend Gregg, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello.
Hello. Please raise your right hand. I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I do.
Thank you. And if you can please state your full name and address for the record.
Wayne Douglas Gregg, 101 Akeley Lane, Summerville, South Carolina, 29483.
Good evening, Reverend Gregg. How are you today, sir?
I'm fine, sir. What about yourself?
God is good to me every day. I shall not complain.
All
Reverend
right.
Gregg, tell us why you're here tonight.
Well, to this official of the BZA meeting, my presiding elder, Dr. Norvell Goff, to Reverend Randolph Miller, president of the Charleston Area Ministerial Alliance, to the officers and members of Graham African Methodist Episcopal Church who are present on this call. I am Reverend Wayne D. Gregg, pastor of Graham AME Church, and I am representing the petition of the congregation wishing to oppose the establishment of the proposed business of Dexter Wilson. In reference to the church, an establishment other than a private dwelling where religious services are usually conducted. Graham AME Church is such an establishment under these guidelines. We have no quarrels with anyone seeking to relax in whatever way they please from the stresses of life. However, the church promotes the scripture in Philippians 4:6-7, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. We also feel that it will be disrespectful to our cemetery to have such an establishment almost in our backyard. Therefore, we are petitioning that this business not be granted license to operate in such close proximity to our church.
Okay. Reverend Gregg?
Yes, sir.
Anything else, sir, that you'd like to say?
On behalf of Reverend Dr. Norvell Goff, presiding elder of the Edison District, he could not be with us, but he wants you to know that he is opposing that this business be granted license to operate next door to the church.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Gregg. At this time, do we have any board members that has a question for Reverend Gregg? I'll start. Reverend Gregg, you make a very good point about having an establishment as this kind by the church. But nevertheless, he stated that he had an opportunity to speak with either you or someone else earlier this week or the week before.
Yes, sir. He had the opportunity to speak with me sometime after 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay. Do you think that with a little bit more conversation, you guys could come to an agreement somehow, some way?
It would have been nice if we had the opportunity to speak, but I don't think that it's going to change my opinion, nor will it change the opinion of my parishioners.
Reverend Green, is it just them having the use of alcohol, or just having the use of the building, serving food and other patrons? Or are you looking at the traffic part of it? I'm trying to nail it down. So
it has to do with the beer and wine or alcoholic beverages, and it also has to do with parking in the event that the business flourishes and prospers. Where would the overflow of the influx of the clientele, where would they consider parking if there are more than 17 parking spots where he is?
So right now, Reverend Gregg, do you have your parking lot closed off to the public?
We do have gates to prevent persons from passing through our properties. Yes.
Okay. I guess if the applicant, I'm not going to speak for the applicant, but if he'd made an agreement with you with parking and you guys came together on a time period, would that work?
We would consider sitting down and discussing whatever matters and concerns that he may have. I'm not certain as to whether or not it would change our opinion about the establishment being so close to the church.
Okay, so I'm gonna try again. Is it primarily because of the use of the alcohol or just the establishment altogether?
It's the use of the alcohol.
Okay. That was my question. I wanted to nail you down on that. So the alcohol has a higher prevalence over the parking?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have a question for Reverend Gregg? Yes, sir, Mr. Boykin.
Good evening, Reverend Gregg. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
I wanted to raise a couple of other issues following up on what Mr. Ray did. Does the live bands, amplified music, mixers and parties and other types of gatherings, is that of any concern to you, being so close to the church and or the cemetery?
Yes, sir. If it was Christmas, if it was New Year's Eve for our watch night service, it would be a problem. Or if it was for sunrise service on Easter, it would be a problem. If we had a Sunday evening program that did not dismiss, or the benediction was not given until 11 o'clock, it would also be a problem. So there are times where the music, the bands, the loud noise would interfere with our church service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Does any other board member have a question of Reverend Greg? Y'all have to forgive me, I'm going back and forth from screen to screen, so I'm not seeing you all one time. Okay, thank you.
To the BZA meeting, Reverend Randolph Miller, he is the president of the Charleston Area Ministerial Alliance. He's trying to get on, or he is having technical difficulties getting in, but he is also opposing, along with the members of the Ministerial Alliance.
Okay, thank you for that, Reverend Greg. Finally, does anybody else have a question for Reverend Greg? Thank you so very much for your testimony today, and we may come back to you. Ms. Working.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Ms. Working, do we have another person that would like to speak?
Yes, Reverend Greg, can you confirm, you said that Reverend Goff is not going to speak tonight? You're muted.
Reverend Greg, unmute yourself. We didn't hear you.
That is correct. Presiding Elder Goff has another meeting. He will not be speaking tonight.
Okay. So he was on my list, as well as Reverend Randolph Miller. And you said he was trying to get on. I don't see him unless he called in. I have a couple call in.
He's out in Holly Hill. He can't get the signal.
Okay. Do you think he would have called in on a number?
He just called my wife to make her aware so that she can make me aware that he cannot get the signal to get in.
Okay.
But it was his intent to be a part of the meeting.
Okay. So, Mr. Ray, those were the speakers. I'm not sure how you want to handle that, but
Well,
or we can move on to the rebuttal, or
well, at this time, we will call for the rebuttal.
okay.
Since there are no more applicants that can speak at this time. So, Mr. Wilson, at this time, the board will give you an opportunity to speak and tell us exactly why to oppose what they're saying, sir.
All right. So, okay. So, well, I have a hard time believing that if we were any other kind of business, such as a restaurant that sold beer and wine, there would be a problem. I also take exception with the fact that they have had, and I'm not going to make this combative situation, because we've been there now for 6-7 years, and I understand what their concerns are, and I it is what it is. But I will say that when they have their services on Sunday, and where my building isn't open, the groomer, no one's open, where my office isn't open. But when we have their patrons or their parishioners in our parking lot, we don't make an issue with it. I'm very open to working with them on any kind of parking situation or concerns that they have on that. But as y'all asked many times, they said that that's not going to change, not even with conversation. as I tried to do a couple weeks ago. And he is correct in the fact that I wasn't able to get in touch with him until 4:30 today. But I did reach out with them to them multiple weeks ago, which is I think when the questions started to arise. So I guess I might have shot myself in the foot on that one with trying to be a good neighbor from the beginning before we've even had the chance to open. So, you know, I'm here hat in hand asking. I'm trying to go through the right processes, of course, with the county and anyone around. I'm very open to working with anyone, but I'm not going to keep dodging bullets. I'll put it like that.
Very good, Mr. Wilson. Let me just throw a flag on a play, or stick an olive branch out. We do have the power to defer a case. And I'm just looking at my board members. And would it help if you had additional time to speak with Reverend Greg, Bishop, and any other members to kind of try to resolve some of the issues that you may have, and then come back and maybe have some of them in support, in your corner of support? Would you be willing to do something like that? And hopefully the good Reverend will be kind enough to give you an ear to listen.
I have tried, and I'll be willing to do it again. I am a member of the AME Church, so I understand how these things work, which is why I tried to, you know, do it the right way from the beginning.
Okay. So I do hear that. I do hear that you are wanting, and make sure that I'm clear, you are willing to defer your case for up to 90 days so that you can have an opportunity to work closer with Reverend Greg and the other members of the church so that you guys could probably come to some common ground and then come back before this board. Because if we deny you or disapprove your application, then it will be some time before you can actually come back.
Understood. And I'd be more than willing to defer it if I'm gonna have an ear to hear me. I would be more than willing to do that. Yes, sir.
Reverend Greg, would you be willing, and your congregation be willing to give Mr. Wilson your ear?
Yes, sir. We will give Brother Wilson our ears.
And your undivided attention, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
So I just need to interject. That's if the applicant wants to defer his application, that's completely fine. They can come up with an agreement on certain issues, but the board's decision will be based on the criteria. So I just want to make sure that's clear, that even if they come up with an agreement, the board will make its decision based on the applicant's application pursuant to the criteria.
Board, do we understand the instruction from council? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Can I mention one final thing to Mr. Wilson?
Ms. Smalls, go ahead.
I think if maybe in meeting with them, clarify, because you said the lounge part is not loud music. You're basically playing, probably have some speaker attachment to like an iPod situation. Maybe some of the concern is special events, which might draw larger crowds and louder music. And certainly if I lived behind that place, I would be concerned. And then maybe think about how you can work with the church to maybe not have special events. Most churches will do like a church calendar at the beginning of the year, that kind of thing. I think this is resolvable. I mean, to me, selling alcohol that close, you know, it's 2021. A lot of churches have event spaces and they do allow beer and wine. Some don't, you know, it's just the preference of that particular congregation or denomination. But I think maybe there are just some other little fine things about how the lounge will operate and then how special events will operate. So just my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Ms. Small. So, Mr. Wilson, if you would, if it's your liking and if it's your understanding and your will, please just make a formal plea to defer your case for no more than 90 days, if that's your will.
Yes, I would like to defer the case for no more than 90 days.
Board, you've heard the request. Can I get a motion to defer this application?
I'll motion to defer.
Mr. Nelson, the chair recognizes you, sir.
I'll make a motion that we defer case BZA 02-21-00459.
Do I have a second for this motion?
Second.
Mr. Wardall, I recognize your hand. So we have a motion that's been properly moved and second. Question?
Just, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just an interesting point out of the zoning ordinance, which is prohibited uses in the area include things like vehicle storage, pawn shops that are right across the street from this particular location. And yet this, and yet this use requires a special exception, which is why Mr. Wilson's here. But I think that's just worth noting for the record.
Very good point, Mr. Marchant. Very
And
good.
the other thing that occurred to me is if you go down a couple blocks, there you come up to another small strip shopping center that's backed up to a large apartment complex that also has like a little lounge in it, or it used to, right off of Ashley River Road. So there are things in that surrounding area.
I guess, Mr. Borkin, I'll come right to you. I guess one of the things that you're looking at an adjacent neighbor in this case. I mean, this is right in your back door. So it would be a little different from my perspective. Mr. Borkin?
Just to respond to Mr. Marchant, I think what may be the case there is that you've got the city of Charleston, the county with a donut hole,
Yes.
and the zonings weren't the same, and overlay district's part of a move to try to consolidate those two areas. So those things were probably pre-existing under a different set of zoning standards.
You're probably right, Mr. Borkin. If he was in the city, he probably wouldn't have this issue. But
Yeah, agreed. And I've been there, and I think that's the whole point of the overlay zone. So it's just worth noting.
yeah. Any other questions, concerns, or comments from the board, that is? Ms. Workin, would you call the roll for the vote, please?
Okay. The motion is to defer the case for up to 90 days. Mr. Ray?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Marchant?
Aye.
Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Ms. Switzer Smalls?
Aye.
And Mr. Woodall?
Aye.
Okay. And I would say, so that was unanimous to defer. This case will definitely not be heard at the May meeting. The earliest it will be heard would be June 7th. However, we will send out notifications to everyone that received the initial notification, ad in the paper, and the sign posted with the date. But it won't be any earlier than June.
Mr. Wilson, I encourage you to work very diligently toward working with the church and the members of that congregation. Hopefully you guys can find some common ground and work some differences out and be more persuasive to this board. I think that will work in your best interest, sir. I do thank you for your time. I thank the church members, Reverend Greg, and the other members for coming before us tonight and testifying before this board. Thank you so very much, and good night.
Good night. Good night.
Our next case on the docket is case BZA 01-21-00460. This case will be given by, is it Ms. Working?
I Yes, I am going to present this one. Let me just double check. I got everybody off. Oh, Ms. Hamilton's on. Okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry. Okay, I'm ready. So the applicant and property owner for the next case tonight is Toby A. Wegner and Leanne Wegner. Their property is located at 1225 15 Mile Landing Road in the east area of Charleston County. Tax map number 62900000167. They're located in the rural residential RR3 zoning district. They're requesting a variance to reduce the required 50-foot OCRM critical line setback by 14.8 to 34.2 and to reduce the required 35-foot OCRM critical line by 0.8 buffer, sorry, by 0.8 feet to 34.2 for a proposed addition to an existing residence. So these requirements are in the Charleston County zoning and land development regulations ordinance, ZELDAR, in chapter 4 and in chapter 9. These are the zoning requirements. The property, again, is located in the RR3 zoning district off of 15 Mile Landing Road. This is the zoomed in aerial of the property, and you can see it's right on the Wando River. And the zoomed out photo. This is a picture of the front of the house. So to the right, on the opposite side of the garage, that's where they're going to be placing the addition. And this is the addition location. And this is the rear of the subject property. And we said that this request meets the criteria 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7, and it may meet criteria 4. However, we did not receive any letters of opposition, and no one signed up to speak for this case besides the applicant. This is the site plan showing, if you can see kind of shaded in, that's the addition area. And it is in line with the current house. This is the plat, and it does show the existing conditions. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Does anyone have questions of staff? I see no hands. Oh, yes, I see one hand, Mr. Marchant.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a question, but I think we lost Mr. Boykin unless he was supposed to leave early. So just FYI.
Thank you. I'll get ready to scroll over. Thank you, sir.
Oh, okay.
We still have a quorum. We still have a quorum, though. Okay. I think he'll probably come back on here just momentarily. Ms. Working, is the applicant available?
Okay, I might have gotten Boykin back on. Let's see. And then.
There he is.
How you doing?
Okay.
All right, Ms. Working.
Okay, they're there. I see them now. Okay. If you can please raise your right hand, I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I do.
I do.
Okay. And we can only take one at a time. So if one of you can state your full name and address for the record.
Go ahead.
Leanne Wagner, and my address is 1225 15 Mile Landing Road in Allendale, South Carolina.
And I'm Mr. Toby Wagner, same address, 1225 15 Mile Landing Road, Allendale, South Carolina, 29429.
Good evening, Wagner family.
Good evening. I first need to apologize I had to have cataract surgery a few days ago, so I'm having to wear these funny glasses. So if it reflects all funny, I apologize for that. But
No, you're fine. You're quite well, sir. You're doing good. So we'll just take one at a time. You've both been sworn in. Let's start with the ladies first. How about that, Mr. Wagner?
Sounds good.
Ms. Wagner, please tell this board why we should approve your application.
Sir, we have requested this variance because for some time now, we have participated in caregiving of my mother-in-law, my husband's mother, who has very advanced kidney disease and has recently had to go on dialysis. And several years ago, she lived in our home with us. And when her care became a little bit more than we could handle without assistance, she went to live in an assisted living facility where she now resides. But we have recently hit the right point in her illness where she has had a complete failure of her kidneys and has had to go on dialysis. And right now she's having a type of dialysis where she goes to a clinic 3 days a week, but the physicians feel that she may benefit from something called peritoneal dialysis, which is a type of procedure that you go to each night to cleanse her blood of some of the toxins. And the facility where she resides will not assume her care under that condition. So we're looking at the possibility of having to bring her back to our home for care. And we don't have but one very small downstairs bedroom in our current home. And it's not quite large enough to facilitate her handicapped, wheelchair and equipment. And we likely would also potentially need a nighttime caregiver to assist us. So ideally, we would like to have 2 bedrooms downstairs, one for her and one for a caregiver. And because of our location on the Wando River and the position of our home, we were very limited in ways we could move outward with our downstairs floor plan in order to accommodate this extra bedroom and bathroom for her use. So we have applied for a variance.
Very good. Does anyone have a question for Ms. Wagner? Any board member have a question for Ms. Wagner? Okay. At this time, Mr. Wagner, we're going to let you say your piece, sir.
I don't know what I can add to that other than actually we just I just picked up mother from the hospital, roped her downtown this afternoon and took her back to her facility. She's doing well, but it is likely she's going to have to come here and probably live with us. And the bedroom that we have now, she has lived in before, but with additional equipment and things like that, it's just not going to work out. It'd be very difficult for us to do that. So we just, based on what Leanne said, we just request a variance. It kind of goes with the house. I think Jennifer actually visited, kind of showed her around and kind of showed her how we're kind of laid out here. And it is not visible from either one of our neighbors. Our neighbors are all good, dear friends, but neither one of them will even be able to see it. So it's not going to infringe on anybody's views or anything like that.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Does anyone have a question of Mr. Wagner? Thank you. Well, I hope that your mother has a faster recovery in your home rather than being
exactly. Well, that's been one of our concerns, is just the timing to kind of get it all ready in enough time to really meet the need. But we're doing the best we can.
Very good. Well, our heart and prayers go out with you. Thank you. Ms. Working, do we have anyone else to speak in favor? I know we don't. I just have to ask.
Yes, sir. No, we have no other speakers in favor and nobody signed up in opposition either.
Okay. Well, good. Do we have any questions for Mr. Woodall? I saw his hand first, Mr. Nelson. I'll come to you soon.
I think Mr. Boykin is having, says Jenny has removed me from being a panelist and made me an attendee.
Well, it's back on. I made him. Point out and say.
Just a hat. Just a hat. It's just a hat, man.
I see him though.
Yeah, but I don't think he can unmute. I don't think he can speak.
That's why he's raising his hand too.
No, he's a panelist. I don't know what to do. I'm seeing him as a panelist.
Jenny, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got no involvement is what I'm trying to say. I can only see you, and it says I can see Savannah's screen, and that's it. But I can't.
You're back on. You're on as a panelist right now.
Okay, it just says you are seeing Savannah Murray's screen. That's what I've got. So I don't know. Should I leave and come back again?
I mean, there's not going to be that much more to see. So if you have your packet for the last case, I think they're about to close the meeting for the 6th case, and you can just follow around that way. I don't know. I mean, I have you on.
Yeah, I can listen. I just can't ask any questions, I guess, unless I come on. But I mean, if you want to just call me for roll call for the vote, I can do that.
Or just stay unmuted. As long as it's quiet, you can stay unmuted.
Okay.
Jenny, I can hear Mr. Boykin.
Oh, I hear him. I hear him. I could see him too.
Yeah, I can see him.
Yeah. He said he can't see the presentation, but right now there's nothing really to see. So.
Okay, no worries.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, thank you. Does the board have any other questions of the applicant? Mr. Nelson?
I was just going to point out the same thing that Mr. Woodall did.
Okay, good. All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'll close this case to the public, and I'll ask for a motion to either approve or deny this application BZA 02-21-006, 00460. Do we have a motion? Mr. Nelson, thank you, sir.
Sure. In the case of BZA 02-21-00460, request for a variance from a 50-foot OCRM critical line setback by 15.8 feet to 34.2 feet, I move or motion that we approve this request. One, I find that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the use of the property, especially considering the property was the dwelling was built in 1984, and certainly the applicants have presented some very valid reasons for the addition that they need. Condition 2, these conditions do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. Again, because of it being an irregular shaped lot that was constructed several years ago, I believe that fits that criteria. For criteria 3, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to this particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. I believe the applicant demonstrated that they examined various alternatives and that they decided this was the best option, best fit for the property. So I agree that because of the location of the house, that we meet criteria 3 or criteria 4. The authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the zoning district will not be harmed by granting the variance. For condition 5, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in the zoning district. Again, the applicant has demonstrated that their desires to take care of their mother, and that is certainly a valid reason for the variance. Condition 6, the need for the variance is not the result of the applicant's own actions. And condition 7, the applicant meets that the granting of the variance does not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan or the purposes of the ordinance. And I do not believe staff recommended any special conditions, so that would be the entire motion.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Borkin, I see your hand. Now that we have a motion that has been properly moved and second, do we have any questions? Comments? Ms. Workin, would you call the roll for the vote, please?
Yes. Mr. Ray?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Marchant?
Aye.
Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
Ms. Switzer Small,
Aye.
and Mr. Woodall.
Aye.
There he is. All right.
All righty.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Wagner, thank you. Your application, as you heard, has been approved. Congratulations. Within 10 working days, you'll get some information from staff, letting you know the next step to use to proceed to move forward, okay?
Thank you. We really appreciate your consideration very much.
Best of luck with your mother. God bless you and God keep you, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Okay. Finally, board, last case on our docket tonight. It's case BZA-01-21-00461. And this case is being done by or presented by Ms. Working.
All right. The applicant property owner is Randall Marvin. The property is located at 160 Main Road in the St. Andrews area of Charleston County. TMS number 28507000009. It's located in the Community Commercial CC zoning district. He is asking for a variance to reduce the required 50-foot S4 right-of-way landscape buffer by 20 feet 3 inches to 29 feet 9 inches along Main Road. The requirement is in Chapter 9 of the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance. And these are the pages in the ordinance that apply. This is the zoning map. As you can see, the property to the south is R4, CC to the north, and everything in white is in the city of Charleston. Zoomed in aerial of the property. And zoomed out aerial. And this is the Gilligan's restaurant. So the request is for them to build a patio. Some of you may remember that we approved this, the BZA on August 4th, 2014, approved this exact same request, but it has since expired. So he's asking for the same request that he was asking for in 2014 that you all approved. And here's some more pictures of the subject property, adjacent property, and Main Road. If you choose to approve this application, we're just asking for this one condition: prior to zoning permit approval, the applicant shall complete the site plan review process, including the additional proposed landscaping as shown on the plans. This is the proposed landscaping plan, and you can see the proposed exterior expansion. Zoomed in landscape plan, extension area. This is the plat. And are there any questions?
Okay.
Jenny? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Borkin. I'm sorry, I was writing, taking some notes.
No, just, so Jenny, this is basically, the applicant's just asking for what he had already received from the BZA on the prior occasion. Everything is pretty much the same.
It's exactly the same. They just never built the patio, and I'm assuming you can ask him, but I'm assuming with COVID, everyone wants outdoor space now. So I think this is the time to build it.
Yes, ma'am. Got it. Thank you.
Anyone else got a question to staff? Ms. Working, would you please bring the applicant forward, please, ma'am?
Yes.
Here.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Marvin. Can you please raise your right hand? I will say the oath and you will say I do. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, I do.
I do.
Thank you. And if you could just state your full name and address for the record, please.
My name is Randall L. Marvin, 4234 Quigley Road, Hollywood, South Carolina, 29449.
Good evening, Mr. Marvin. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doing well.
Good. Thank you for appearing to our board today. Please tell this board why we should approve this application, sir.
Well, you know, I did this 5-6 years ago. At the time, after I got the cost back for the addition, I felt it wasn't needed or wasn't justifiable, and I held off on it. And but since then, as we all know, COVID has changed that quite a bit for the need for outdoor dining, and it's going over an existing parking lot that we built this thing 30 years ago, and we need the outside dining because of the current situation in the country and the world. That we would hope that y'all would approve it so that we can accommodate outside seating.
Does any board member have a question of Mr. Marvin? Mr. Borkin, I know you got a question. Well, since he's a little hesitant, I'll ask a couple questions. So you basically told us the reason why, but I just got an itching question. Mr. Marvin, did you own the Gilligan's over in Mount Pleasant?
Yes, sir, I did.
Sir, so we're gonna have to, can you tell us why you closed that one? People in Mount Pleasant want to know. I had to be honest with you, the guy that wanted to buy it wanted to pay me more than what I thought it was worth. And, you know, like I told him it was just a business decision to move on. I've been there, what, 18, 19 years, and I'm still hoping to find a spot, but over on that side of town, but everything is just so high right now. I'm holding off and waiting to find the right location. I'll try not to hold that against you, Mr. Marvin.
Oh, thank
you. I like your food personally, but
thank you very much.
Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Marvin? I see none. Thank you, sir. Ms. Working, as I have to, do we have any other individuals that will speak in support or opposition of this case?
No, we do not have any more speakers tonight.
Okay, very good. Then at this time, does anyone else have any questions for staff? So seeing none, at this time, I'll close this case to the public. And then also asking for a motion to either approve or deny case BZA 02-21-00461. Can I get a motion to approve? Mr. Borkin?
I will do it. I will make a motion that in BZA case number 02-21-00461 that we approve the application for the variance. Find that it meets criteria 1, that there are extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. The fact that there's already a parking lot there and that's where the outside dining is going to go. That along with Mr. Marvin's own comments about the necessity of more outside parking, outside dining for patrons due to the COVID situation. Criteria 2, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. It's a commercial restaurant, and it has the space to put the outside dining, and the request for the variance fits the need for the outside dining. Criteria number 3, because of these conditions, the application of this ordinance to this particular piece of property would effectively prohibit and unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Again, this is outdoor dining. It's a restaurant, and it's going in an area that was already cleared, to be utilized for parking. That's, according to the information contained in this, is going to be addressed with other available parking on site. Criteria 4, the authorization of a variance will not be a substantial detriment to adjacent property or the public good, and the character or zoning of the district will not be harmed by granting a variance. This is just a, an addition to a commercial piece of property that's being so employed. It meets that criteria. Criteria 5, the Board of Zoning Appeals should not grant a variance, the effect of which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district, or to extend physically a non-conforming use of land, or to boundary shown on the official zoning map. The fact the property may be utilized more properly should not should a variance be granted, may not be considered grounds for the variance. This isn't changing the zoning or affecting anything else. It's simply adding more seats for patrons outside to meet the challenges the restaurant is facing now. So it meets that criteria. Criteria 6, neither variance does not result in the applicant's own actions. Clearly, Mr. Marvin didn't bring us COVID, so he needs outdoor dining, so it meets that criteria. Criteria 7, granting the variance does not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan or purposes ordinance, and it does not. And I will include the one condition of staff's recommendation that prior to zoning permit approval, the applicant shall complete the site plan review process, including the additional proposed landscaping as shown on the plans.
Thank you, Mr. Borkin. Do we have a second for this motion?
Second.
Second.
Okay, I don't know who said that. Oh, Mr. Marchant, thank you, sir. So we have an application that has been properly moved in second. Question? Any questions? Very good. Ms. Working, would you please call the roll for the vote?
Okay, Mr. Ray,
Aye.
Mr. Boykin,
Aye.
Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
Mr. Marchand,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
Ms. Switzer Smalls,
Aye.
and Mr. Woodall.
Aye.
Goodness gracious. And that's unanimous for approval with the one condition.
Well, Mr. Marvin, congratulations on getting your application approved. Within 10 working days, you'll get information from staff letting you know the next steps in the process. I hope you get it done this time. We wish you the best of luck in your endeavors and your work. You got good food. We want to see it continue. Very good, sir. You're muted. Oh, okay.
There he goes. He's unmuted now.
So thank you very much. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you so very much, and have a good night, sir.
I'll do the same. Thank you.
Ms. Working, do we have anything else for this august body?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, well, thanks for meeting tonight. We have this special meeting because, you know, it's pretty impossible to have this many cases on one night, because we will have 9 cases on next Monday, the 12th. I think Mr. Nelson and Mr. Woodall will not be there, and if that changes, just let me know, but they are not going to be at the meeting, but everyone else should be there, so. And Miss Allison and Mr. Williams should be back for that meeting.
Everybody should have gotten their packets already on the information.
Yes.
I got my packet the other day, so that's good.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, we will, I'm going out of town tomorrow, and I will remind Savannah to send your panelist link tomorrow. We didn't do that on purpose because we didn't want to, we were confused which meeting was which and which cases are which. It's hard. And I could tell you about May on Monday or share with you now if you want to know.
Go right ahead. You have our undivided attention.
For May 3rd, you're going to have 9 to 10 variances, all variances, no STRs. So we're thinking that that will probably be the last virtual meeting. Of course, I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, we think May 3rd will be virtual. And then hopefully in June, we can get back to normal. I do not want to do hybrids. So what we'll do is go back to like in person, but with, you know, distance of chairs or whatever we have to do. If we have to wear masks, we wear masks. But hopefully too, everyone will be vaccinated by then.
Jeannie, I just want to tell you, I forgive you for sending me the Zoom timeout.
It was hard. I had so many people on. I might have accidentally clicked you. I was trying to.
And I'm not the super Zoom guy, so I was like, "What happened?" And I was like trying to figure it out. But you did get me back, but my screen was all different because I went in and came back, so I couldn't see myself. So I didn't know y'all could see me. So I'm sorry.
We got through. It was a little rough, but we all got through. And then, as always, you know, just keep me updated on your training. You have until the end of the year to get the 3 hours in. Any questions, concerns?
Thank you, Ms. Working. I want to thank everybody for coming out and participating tonight. I know that was 3 hours, 3 tough hours, but we made it through. I look forward to seeing as many as you possible on next Monday, and we can push through that as well. With that being said, do we have any other concerns? If not, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so very much.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
See you Monday.
Good night.